NBA on NBC is brought to you by Miller Lite Ice. The night is young. By Toyota, who invites you to experience the tranquility of the all-new Avalon. And by Nike, who encourages you to participate in the lives of America's youth.
Welcome back to New York and Madison Square Garden. Game one between the Pacers and the Knicks. Here's the way the Indiana Pacers will start in the backcourt. Jackson, the former Knick, the new face in the Indiana lineup from a year ago with Reggie Miller. And up front, the 7'4" Rick Smits, regular season averaged about 18 points a game. 6'10" Derek McKee is the small forward. And Dale Davis, the leading rebounder for the Pacers at 6'11". And the coach, Larry Brown, used to pay 60 cents to sit on the upper deck at Madison Square Garden to see the Knicks play, and his hero was Coach Red Holtzman. Here's the way New York will line up to start game one. In the backcourt, Harper off a 30-point performance, game 4 against Cleveland, and Starks, who set an NBA record, 217 trays this season. Patrick Ewing, top scorer and rebounder, with Charles Smith and Oakley at the forwards. And Pat Riley, the Knicks coach, more playoff wins than any other coach in NBA history. Dan Hicks with us, working the sideline today, and it's been a season of nagging injuries for Patrick Ewing. Dan, what's the latest?
Well, indeed it has. You might remember, Tom, that Patrick Ewing missed the last couple of regular season games with a sore hamstring. Well, he battled the Cavs in the first round. He also battled his own calf. They have been very sore. He goes through a pregame regimen every game. He gets electronic stimulus before this game, about an hour and a half. But the most important thing is to keep them warm during the course of the game. He'll get heat packs on the bench during the game for that. Now, as a player, Patrick Ewing downplayed this injury, but Pat Riley told us yesterday that he's very concerned about the health of his big star. Tom?
All right, Dan. Joe Crawford, Bill Oakes, Ed F. Rush, the officials, the game underway. These two teams have met the last 3 seasons in the playoffs, and if familiarity breeds contempt, this is contempt on court. Ewing's forced shot won't go, and Smits the rebound.
The Knicks will definitely try to get Smits in foul trouble. That's always been a nemesis for him.
Smits dishing to McKee for the lay-in.
Smits playing with so much more confidence. In the past, that would have been a turnover. Smits and Ewing getting very physical early.
Don't you sense that this whole Pacer team plays with more confidence now? Ewing, picked off by Reggie Miller. 2-on-2 break. Jackson takes it all the way and lays it in.
They're certainly showing that confidence that you mentioned, Tom. They had the early meeting this morning. Byron Scott, Reggie Miller doing most of the talking.
Outside shot good by Charles Oakley. Knicks first point.
Penetration by both point guards. A big key in this entire series. Draw the defense in. The spot shooters will have to find the range. There will be no easy baskets at the hoop today.
Miller's shot blocked. Starks brings it the other way. Pacers back, though, on defense. They'll set it up on the half court. Smith found an open lane to the hoop.
Used his quickness. Smits wise, though, not to pick up a silly foul on a play he has no chance of executing.
Game tied at 4.
Smits in the post.
Bumping with Ewing down low on the block. Unable to get position. Now they get the ball to Smits. The jump hook rims out. Smits got it back. Wide open shot, good by Dale Davis.
Dale Davis, who has worked relentlessly on developing an offensive game. One of the first players out for the Pacers before every game, trying to get that jumper to fall.
Harper can't get it down. McKee at 6'10" leads the break. No look at Davis, wide open, missed it, tapped it, no good. Finally knocked out of bounds by Charles Smith of New York.
Charles Oakley, a moment ago when Reggie Miller sliced down the lane. Oakley, who does everything that's never in the stat sheet, and then Jackson finding Dale Davis. That play's got to go down. The Pacers playing better early, but if they're going to miss shots like that, they're going to allow the Knicks back in this game.
Davis should have just slammed it, shouldn't he? Ball almost swiped for Miller, and then Ewing rejects. Harper leads the Knicks break. They're 3 points early for Charles Oakley.
Block shots by the big guys, Oakley and Ewing, feeding the fast break. You mentioned dunking at the hoop. You have to finish strong, but at this high level, you're going to have very few dunks.
Smith regaining control and laying it in. And New York has its first lead.
Every New York basket has been off a broken offensive play for Indiana, while the Pacers have been better in the set offense.
Miller, his first 2 shots blocked, finally gets one away and hits.
Reggie promised us yesterday that he'd be bad this series.
Last thing he said to us as he left the room we were in talking to him, he said, "I promise I will be bad." Oakley has been bad early. He has a half dozen points. And the Knicks extend their lead again.
Pacers can live with that. Their biggest concern is Ewing going for huge numbers and getting Smits in foul trouble. Smits wide open in the post.
There's the entry pass. And jams in Ewing's face.
Every Pacer has now scored. Smits playing very aggressive with a sense of anger.
Smith went right by Derek McKee, who fouled him.
Patrick Ewing is going to slap this ball away, keep it in play the way he learned from his college coach, John Thompson, who's in attendance today. And then Rick Smits right back with the reverse pivot that Shaquille O'Neal has finally mastered. When you're 7'4" or as big as Shaq and you get the ball that deep, there's nothing any defender, even as good a one as Patrick Ewing, can do.
Was it George Thompson from Johntown, or is it John Thompson from Georgetown?
I'll get it right one of these days.
There is John
Coach Thompson, an ex-Celtics, like every other ex-Celtic, so very sad about the closing of the Boston Garden Friday night.
You were in attendance. That had to be an emotional moment as Miller misses a tray. Davis.
It was very emotional up in Boston. So many of the ex-players there. The current Celtic team gave it all they had. Larry Brown, though, wants to talk this one over.
Indiana takes a timeout. 7:36 left in the opening period with the Knicks up 2. The Knicks have beaten Larry Brown and the Pacers in the playoffs the last 2 years, but this season they come in thinking they can beat New York. And we asked Larry Brown about the difference in playing the Knicks this time.
I think the 2 series that we played in the past, we didn't think we could beat them. Now we know we can beat them, but we don't expect it to be easy, and we're going to have to play our best ball. And as a coach, I don't care what they put up in locker rooms. That lasts for about 20 minutes. I care about how we play on the court.
Every team in the Eastern Conference that's still left in the playoffs is capable of winning the championship. From now on, it's all mental, and confidence has everything to do with it.
Foul on John Starks. That is the first New York foul.
The Pacers still continue to be better in the half-court sets. The numbers, though, that 5 for 7 shooting, that's all Smith and Oakley, who are perfect 5 for 5.
In fact, while all the Pacers have scored, only Oakley and Smith have scored for New York as Patrick Ewing picks up his first foul.
In the post here, that's going to be tough to keep anybody in the ball game if they keep calling those fouls.
Jackson with an ill-advised pass, and Starks makes him pay with a layup on the other end.
If Indiana, which has fallen behind by 4, they're not a great comeback team. They basically play their best when they're in the lead. They've got to get New York to play set offense. Everything has been transition.
Ironically, it was Pat Riley yesterday that said we have to keep Indiana from running. It's been the Knicks that have been doing the running. Dale Davis fouled underneath by Charles Smith.
Smits has thrown some terrific passes. Over the top, he'll wait on the double team. So many guys panic in this situation. How long was Dale Davis in the lane? Set up a tent in there on this lovely spring day.
And hits the free throw. Davis not a good free throw shooter. Down around 50% during the regular season. See his playoff numbers, 7-7 in the 3-game sweep of the Hawks.
But in this, just his 4th year, he will undoubtedly become a much better free throw shooter over the course of what promises to be a 12 to 14-year NBA career.
Smits over the back of Ewing, knocking the pass away, but picking up his first foul.
Each big guy with a ticky-tack push in the back foul. When the guy flashes in there, there's an over-the-top play to Smith.
And Smits blocked the shot.
Brought Spike Lee out of his seat in protest.
McKee zipped it out of bounds. Maybe looking for Davis, but the pass was too hard to catch in any event.
He got in the air and was thinking pass the whole way because Smith had played good defense. Dale Davis, he always anticipates the shots going up.
Harper against Jackson. Oakley open. Out and back through. Oakley's had the hot hand. He's hit all 4 of his shots, and the Knicks lead by 5.
Oakley, who's appearing in his 10th consecutive playoff series. Every year he's been in the league. Can't remember him ever shooting this well.
Smits, pretty shot. 4 points for Rick Smits.
The Knicks, the absolute best in the NBA at defending the pick and roll. Tough to defend height at 7'4" when you're shooting from 20 feet.
And Indiana foul on Dale Davis, his first, 3rd against the Pacers.
At the top of the key, Charles Oakley is going to step off the pick and roll there. Dale Davis, who's matched up with Oakley, has to pay more attention. Smits has been able to do a good job on Ewing to date.
Starks misses a tray. McKee the rebound. Miller coming off a screen, gets it to Smits, who misses the jam as he collides with Ewing. No whistle. And Davis got it right back to Smits, and that time he made sure.
Smits is playing as aggressive as I've ever seen him on the offensive end, trying to execute that dunk from about 10 feet away.
Smith. It's still the Smith and Oakley show for the Knicks. That's 8 for Charles Smith, a 3-point New York lead.
The Pacer guards are not playing good enough defense. Miller and Jackson are allowing Harper and Starks to penetrate. And then when the forwards have to pinch in defensively, Smith and Oakley are wide open for spot-up shots, and they've all gone in.
There are the numbers so far, 67% shooting for the Knicks. Miller misses, but an offensive board by Davis. Somebody got a piece of it. Smits was on the baseline. Give it to New York.
Patrick Ewing, who's 3rd in playoff history in block shots, almost gets faced up there by Smits, but that ball rims off, and Dale Davis, the presence of mind. Did he jump on that dunk?
I think he just sort of tippy-toed.
Once again, guards down the lane.
Harper with a scoop.
To beat the Knicks in any series, any opponent, you've got to deny guard penetration. Ewing, defense.
Right back to McKee, though, who peaks at the shot clock and still plenty of time. Miller. Ewing the board. Quick outlet pass to Starks.
Starks forcing Miller to his left. Tough jumpers. Knicks playing with more patience, trying to build on this 5-point lead.
Harper for 3. Davis the rebound. His 3rd board. Jackson in a hurry. All the way to lay it in. The former Knick burns New York, and it's a 3-point game.
Mark Jackson, who grew up idolizing Earl Monroe here in Madison Square Garden as a young man in the great championship years of the early 70s.
Well, the point guard play, important to the outcome.
Penetration, Smits wise to avoid silly fouls. Move your feet and get in front, make him shoot it over you. Mark Jackson right back at him the other way. Knicks in command.
We went to commercial with Derek Harker and Mark Jackson trading baskets, and they traded some words as well. Jackson and Harper have been hit with double technical fouls, and Harper expected trash talking from the Pacers, but he expected it to come from Reggie Miller. Here's what he had to say about Reggie's trash talking.
Well, some of the things that have been said, I think you never forget those things. Yeah, you can't really get caught up in those type of things, because I think Reggie Miller, some of the things that he says is used to psych you out a little bit. I think he's playing a little head trick when he starts talking and trying to get you riled up. And, you know, I think what it does sometimes is it brings attention to Reggie, and he ends up shooting 16, 17 free throws against you. So I think the important thing is that we play a very forceful game against Reggie Miller and his team.
Here is Reggie Miller trying to answer the bucket by Starks, and he is fouled by Smith, his second foul.
Where is the Pacer defense? Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson just getting beaten to the hoop time and time again. These are two teams that pride themselves on great defense. They both gave up about 95 points per game in the regular season, and were well below that in their first round matchups against Cleveland and Atlanta respectively. But this trash talking, that's the way Reggie Miller plays. You try to get him not to do that, just focus in. He's as focused as I've ever seen him. Wouldn't talk to anybody, wouldn't look at anybody before the game today. You do your trash talking by saying, hey, look at the scoreboard and count my championship rings.
Only 4 points for Reggie Miller on 1 of 6 shooting so far, as the marquee players continue to sputter. Ewing is 0 for 1. Back 0 for 2 with that miss, as Smith pulls his way and hits the hook.
The aggressiveness of Rick Smits again. Never been better. Lowering the shoulder, initiating off. It's beautiful pass, Oakley.
Ewing now 0 for 3. Ball on the floor, picked up by Smith.
Too much blocking out by McKee and not rebounding.
Ewing finally gets a basket.
Ewing will get plenty of baskets. We're not going to have to worry about that. The good thing is that the Knicks have learned to play some of their best ball when Ewing is struggling or when he's out with an occasional injury.
In fact, so far in this game, the leading point getters for the Knicks, Oakley and Smith, are the two lowest average players in the starting lineup. McKee wide open from 17.
Derek McKee is the man that has to deliver. They're going to be double teaming a lot if Smits continues to play this well. Now they've switched off Antonio Davis to Ewing. That's good because that'll keep Smits out of foul trouble. Oakley has to get aggressive offensively.
Starks for a trade. Starks with 7 points now, and the Knicks up 4.
This is a mature New York Knicks team now that realizes that the Pacer front line is arguably equal to the Knicks, and the guards have come through huge.
Smits rebounded by Davis. Antonio Davis is fouled as he takes it back up. Good offensive board work by the Pacers as Oakley commits number 1.
The centers of the story. You lower that shoulder, you initiate the contact. Once the defense backs off, then you deliver the automatic shot. And Ewing, a concession basket here. They're not going to foul Ewing apparently down low. They just, if he gets the great position and takes his first rest of the game.
Hubert Davis and Anthony Mason are in for New York, and for Indiana, Haywood Workman.
Dale Davis at the line. Missed 37 games this year with back surgery. Antonio, excuse me.
Second free throw no good. Ewing, quick outlet to Harper. Knicks lead by 3.
High pick and roll. Dump it down into the post. Offensive foul.
Ewing knocks Smits to the court. That'll be the second foul on Patrick. And a technical foul as well.
You've got some real veteran officials here. Bill Oakes, Joe Crawford. Joe Crawford, of course, did the wonderful job in that ugly Denver incident the other night with San Antonio. Kept things perfectly under control. Got 3 technicals called in the first quarter.
Reggie Miller hits the free throw. And Patrick Ewing will go to the bench, replaced by Herb Williams.
2 big men battling in the post here. Looks to me like Smits just lost his balance as the elbow was up in his throat.
One of your favorite moves, I think, the elbow to the throat.
But that's how this series will be played. These are not dirty players here. These are just rough and tumble players who don't mind guys coming right back at you. Herb Williams now in for Ewing.
And Smits takes it right to him. Double team comes, and the Pacers throw it away. Davis can't handle the pass. Fast break opportunity for the Pacers. Workman from Miller.
Beautiful spacing on the break. The Knicks, as is their habit, turn it over consistently on the break. They started this game beautifully. Now the Pacers have worked their way back into it.
High score in the final 30 seconds of the half. Foul called on Antonio Davis of Indiana.
Another technical foul. Antonio Davis for one. And Anthony Mason for the other.
Are the officials consciously trying to get control of this one early?
In the low post. They called the foul there on Antonio Davis, excuse me, once again. But the officials want this game to be decided by basketball play, not by an over-aggressive physical play.
And then Antonio Davis quickly whistled for his second, speaking of overly aggressive play. And
another double foul they called there. Excuse me, Tom. So Davis picks up two, and both guys working in the low post.
And here is the case again, Bill, where the players are going to have to adjust to the way the officials are calling the game.
You got to back off and play some soft defense at this point. Just try to get out of the quarter.
With now just 10 seconds remaining. Hubert Davis.
Good pick by Williams.
Scott beat the buzzer. Byron Scott racing to the other end, beat the buzzer with a layup to bring the first quarter to an end. Double technicals the rule through this first quarter. Patrick Ewing in foul trouble. 12 personal fouls, 5 technicals in the first period. Scott ends it with a layup to give the Pacers the lead. At the end of the first quarter, the Indiana Pacers leading the New York Knicks 29-27.
The 1995 NBA playoffs on NBC.
2-point Pacer lead as we start the second quarter. The first quarter, the officials obviously taking control of the game with their foul calls. A total of 5 technical fouls whistled along with 12 personals. And Bill, as you said, time for the players to back off a little.
Well, they need to do that. The referees have to call that type of play so that this becomes a basketball series and not a brawl out there. And in this situation, you know that Crawford and Oaks are going to call absolutely everything early to set the tempo. Just back off and play basketball. Play some perimeter game, block some shots, rebound, and don't ever look at the refs.
Herb Williams with his first foul, sending Dale Davis to the line.
Or wear someone else's jersey when you do.
I don't think they can hide. Charles Smith for Charles Oakley in the Knick lineup.
Both teams going with their second units now, and this could very well be the determining factor as well in this series, because you got teams that have deep benches. Herb Williams, who used to play for the Indiana Pacers, in fact, is their career-leading rebounder and shot blocker.
Foul called on Sam Mitchell, I believe. No, they say it was on Haywood Workman. And there's a traveling call to turn it right back over.
Good pressure by Byron Scott. Referees looked long and hard and said, yes, that is traveling.
I didn't know that still existed. Pacers in the midst of a 7-0 run.
Derek McKee's got to create here. He's got good finishers out there. Sam Mitchell.
McKee missed it in close. The Pacers have missed a number of shots right at point-blank range. Mason threads his way up court and pitches it out of bounds.
Byron Scott and Hayward Workman just tricked Anthony Mason that time, who was well known for his ball handling abilities. Ooh. That hurts your face. Waiting for the pick and roll. Too late. They're going to call an offensive foul on Scott on the cross screen. Byron Scott will walk across the lane, then move a little bit, trying to get Mason. Mason had already committed to going low. That's all you want.
Greg Anthony in the game for the Knicks has had some big contests against the Pacers. Here's a foul on Derek McKee, his first.
The game has been unable to reach a flow. Every time down, there's a whistle.
Well, everyone expected that this would be a very physical series, and the officials with their foul calls, with their whistles, trying to get control early. And we asked Anthony Mason about the physical nature of this Pacer series.
I definitely like a physical series. Anytime, you know, it comes down to banging and bumping and strength, you know, I welcome that challenge at any time. So it's something I look forward to. It's something my teammates look forward to. And I really don't believe there's a team as physical as us, but we're going to see come Sunday.
That's what's great about playing against guys like Mason and the rest of the Knicks and the Davis men. They don't complain when you hit them right back.
Shot from the corner by Mitchell goes. Sam Mitchell's first basket puts the Pacers up 5. They're on a 9-0 run.
Patrick Ewing's going to have to get back in this action soon. They've fallen apart since he went to the bench with foul trouble and the technicals.
Anthony for 3.
Anthony, who's played very solid ball as a backup point.
McKee on the low block.
The Knicks are giving up really deep position time and time again. Now, they haven't been wiped out by it because they've been able to erase some of that by blocking some shots and the Pacers missing.
Charles Smith continues to hold the hot hand. He's in double figures.
Charles Smith, a very solid season for him. Injury plagued the previous year, but this year, full 76 games played.
Scott lost it.
Again, penetrators jumping in the air, thinking pass. That's an automatic turnover in this series.
Davis misses a 3. Herb Williams kept it alive, and the Knicks get it back.
Play the shot clock, put some pressure on the Pacers' second unit defense.
Davis again misses a tray. Strong rebound that time by Dale Davis.
Davis, Anthony, and oh, that's a bad foul there.
Anthony trips Hayward Workman. We'll take a break with just over 9 minutes left. The NBA on NBC.
A must-win Game 5 for the Rockets and Jazz, then the Bulls and Magic in prime time next. The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. This Bud's for you. By Jeep, makers of Grand Cherokee, Cherokee, and Wrangler. And by Sun America, the retirement savings specialists.
Wouldn't be a Knick game at the Garden without celebrities. Tom Brokaw is here. Lou Gossett. There's John McEnroe. And Michael Douglas. All the celebrities in place, but the Knicks struggling here in the first half, trailing by 2. Spike Lee's been quiet so far.
Because Reggie Miller hasn't done anything yet. Both teams just feeling their way right now. This is going to be a long series. Every game will probably be decided with less than a minute to go. Mason doing a good job on Smits. Over dribbling by Workman.
Mitchell penetrates. Smits hits the jump shot, and with Ewing out of the lineup, the Pacers now have outscored the Knicks 11-5. 10 points for Smits.
Penetration and dish. You know that the shot blockers, the Knicks, they will converge on every ball.
Foul call as Anthony streaks to the hoop. It's the first on Mitchell.
And Smits doing well to stay out of this foul trouble. Missed the second hit after the initial contact by Mitchell. Anthony in his 4th year out of Las Vegas. His first NBA game that he ever saw in person was the game that Jabbar swung that great sky hook at Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas to break Wilt's all-time scoring record.
Said Anthony has had some good games against the Pacers. You may remember he was ejected and fined $2,500 for a fight with Haywood Workman last season.
What are backup point guards getting in fights for? I mean, they're just supposed to keep things together for a couple of minutes.
Workman against Anthony right here. Workman trying to get by him, cannot. Gives it up though to Mitchell, who hits another baseline jumper. Sam Mitchell has 4. The Pacers lead by that margin.
The outside shooting off the penetration continues to be solid for Indiana.
Reach in foul. Whistled on Workman. Number 2 on Haywood.
Reggie Miller has been on the bench for an eternity.
We spoke of the marquee players at the start of the telecast. Reggie Miller and Patrick Ewing. They've basically been no factors. There's a steal and a jam by Dale Davis.
Reggie Miller in just his 8th year in the league. I guess he hasn't figured out how to substitute himself yet.
Just go up there and
just walk up there and say, I'm in. Oh, Ewing again.
Ewing with a shot to the chops of Rick Smits, and that is 3 on Patrick Ewing with 7.5 minutes left in the first half.
Smits playing very tight up. Stand up there again. That left elbow, that left shoulder. You keep that down in the rib cage area. That's not a foul call, but when it goes up a little bit higher, he jerks back, and with Smits playing so close, that contact is going to knock him down.
Ewing goes to the sideline with 3 fouls. Oakley in. Starks also returns. Smits calling for it against Mason. Mismatch here. Turnaround jumper by Rick Smits. Yes. And a foul on Greg Anthony. Smits has a dozen points to lead all scorers and a chance at the free throw line.
Anthony Mason with the flop. Smits has to just concentrate on playing basketball here. Little chest bump there.
Half-hearted. That didn't impress anybody.
Well, all the Pacers, they shaved their heads before the playoff. Byron Scott said he wasn't doing it. I'll believe they're serious when Larry Brown and Rick Smits shave their heads.
Knicks call a timeout. Rick Smits has 13 points, and the Pacers up 43-34. The NBA on NBC. Reggie Miller having his shoulder examined over on the Pacer bench. Dan Hicks is heading that way to give us a report on the injury to Reggie Miller. The surprising thing is, even without their top scorer averaging over 30 in the playoffs, the Pacers have built a 9-point lead.
But they've responded with Rick Smits. They've gotten good play from most everybody. Their defense has tightened up, denied penetration. And in a game that's just been foul marred from the beginning, 22 personal fouls have been called, 5 technicals in the first 17 minutes of the game.
That one on Sam Mitchell.
But as Derek Harper was talking earlier, how you just have to ignore some of the trash talking, although you never forget it, you can't do that trash talking and embarrass the referees because they never forget either.
Anthony Mason still looking for his first point. Let's go to Dan Hicks for a report on the condition of Reggie Miller. Dan?
Well, Tom, I just talked to the Pacer training staff. They're a little tight-lipped as to exactly what is going wrong with Reggie Miller, but they do admit that he does have a sore right shoulder. They said no big deal. He will return to the game. Tom?
Might be sore from all that shooting he did against the Hawks. 1 of 6 today to start the game, Reggie Miller.
Anthony Mason showing why he's a leading candidate for 6th man of the year. He does everything as Smith picks up a foul. Both players just walk away wisely. The back screen as Smith rolls down, and Greg Anthony does a solid job of stepping in and taking that charge.
Second foul on Rick Smits. Patrick Ewing on the Knick bench with 3.
Good time to go right at Smits.
Oakley shows us the outside shot. Charles Oakley has 10. He's hit all 5 of his field goals.
Oakley, who played a career-low 50 games this year, really one of the Iron Men in NBA history in his 10th year, finally hitting his stride for the Knicks after that toe surgery.
Mason deflected it. Starks picks it up. Mason. Reggie Miller waiting to come in.
Look at the pressure on Mark Jackson, forcing him to take time off the shot clock so they can't get their set offense going.
Knicks have scored 5 in a row. Greg Anthony commits the foul.
Technical foul on Anthony.
That's his 3rd personal and a technical foul as well. That is the 6th technical foul called in the first half.
And every single one of these technicals, as Jackson turns the corner on the fake pick and roll, and Anthony holds on.
Got him on the top of the head, I think.
But every one of these technicals count toward ejection. So you have a lot of key players, as 6 technicals have already been called.
Byron Scott to shoot the technical.
Give the referees credit. They are determined not to let this game become a brawl, because 1 or 2 instances
but are they
set
overdoing
everybody up.
My question is, are they overdoing it?
I don't think so, because you got 2 of the very, very best who are experienced refs and a very good young ref, Ed F. Rush. The players are the ones who haven't changed.
Away from the ball, a foul on Anthony Mason. His 2nd foul.
Trying to feed the post. Derek McKee rolling, working. Mason, very little contact there.
Again, they may be overdoing it. It's sort of disrupting the flow of the game for sure.
Referees read the papers, though, too. They have heard all the talk about how physical this is going to be.
Are they likely to loosen up later in this game and later in the series? Of course, you may have a different crew calling the other games.
You'll have a different crew almost every game until late in the series, when some of these guys will come back. The players have to think about basketball, not think about fouling, not think about physical play. Let the game come to you.
46-39. Crowd chanting during those free throws. Let them play. Here's Mason. Low post. Nice. Up and under.
Mason, so strong, so versatile. The perfect footwork. No defense for that play.
Jackson backing in against Harper. Miller off a screen. Starks right with him. Jackson, and a 3-second violation on the Pacers will turn it over to New York.
Overpassing by Indiana. That's why that swing pass by Reggie Miller has to go to Byron Scott as opposed to Mark Jackson. Byron Scott, of course, not in the game, so it'll be very difficult to catch.
Derek Harper with a 3. Harper had 7 trays in that Game 4 30-point performance against the Cavaliers, and the Pacers will call a timeout. 4:49 left until halftime. Knicks getting back in it. Now down just 2.
You're watching NBC. the premier sports television network.
Coming up in a few moments on the Prudential Halftime Report, we'll check in on the other 3 series going on right now. Our game after the Pacers and Knicks will be Game 5 of the Rockets and Jazz, an unpredictable series featuring 2 teams, one of whom is going home, but either one could have a chance to win the NBA title. We'll also hear from Shaquille O'Neal and take a look at his lighthearted attempt at broadcasting. The Magic and Bulls are the 3rd game of the day, and we'll get a report on the Lakers and Spurs a day after San Antonio won Game 1 by 16 points at the Alamo Dome. At the Garden, the Pacers lead the Knicks by 2, and back we go to Tom Hammond and Bill Walton.
All right, Bob, New York in the midst of a 10-3 run on Indiana.
All without Patrick Ewing on the bench. Knicks continue to play well in his absence as Harper picks up a foul real far from the basket. Harper continuing his beautiful overall play from the series that he just runs into Reggie Miller. But that's John Starks' fault. Derek Harper had no idea he was there. John Starks has got to yell out.
That's only the 6th point for Reggie Miller. He's hit 1 of 6 from the floor. Technical fouls called.
And these are all the real key guys for the New York Knicks. One more outburst and the ejection would cost them dearly.
Reggie Miller now with 7 points, but remember, slow start doesn't mean much to him. He had that 25-point 4th quarter, Game 5 last year. Starks misses a tray. Mitchell knocked it out of bounds. New York will get it back. Indiana has yet to hit a 3-point shot, only 1 attempt.
Starks, of course, set every record imaginable for three-point shooting this year. The Knicks just can't get the ball inbounds. They have to burn a timeout.
22nd timeout called by the New York Knicks, and Oakley explains what happened or didn't happen.
Still, though, you have to move to the ball. You have to be ready before your inbounder ever receives the ball and notice that he's in trouble. Push off and flash to the ball, get the reception, save those timeouts.
John Starks setting NBA records in 3-point field goals attempted and made this season. The first NBA player ever over 200 3-point field goals as the line came in. 611 attempts.
I don't know how Patrick Ewing feels about that. You get a lot of offensive rebounding opportunities, but the Knicks once again 55 wins this year after 57 a year ago.
Starks from Oakley. Again, a 2-point game.
Starks focuses in on everything, every part of the game.
6 to shoot. McKee dishes to Mitchell. Good ball movement by the Pacers. Sam Mitchell has a half dozen.
Pacers are doing a good job, although they look a little tentative when they put that ball on the floor going to the hoop. Maybe they're thinking about some hard fouls of their own.
Penetration by Harper. Underneath Mason, muscles it up, no good. And a loose ball foul. Now let's see what the call is. The basket will count. And a Pacer foul on McKee. They wipe the basket out. It is a loose ball foul.
The moment before, John Starks in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Look at the pick by Anthony Mason, who just frees up a curling John Starks. Mason and Oakley do so many unnoticed things for this Knicks team. Of course, Anthony Mason, an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. Knicks will do everything in their power to keep him.
Antonio Davis replacing Derek McKee, who just picked up his 3rd foul. Byron Scott in for the Pacers as Mitchell goes out.
Very small lineup here for Indiana.
Anthony Mason hits 1 of 2. Mason, who had his differences with Pat Riley during the season and was suspended, seems to have patched things up.
Well, they're both professionals. They know this is all about business. Byron Scott taking advantage of a mismatch. This is something that could hurt Indiana.
Harper. Mason Mason, the offensive board.
Too much size for the Knicks out there. Larry Brown doesn't seem concerned.
Harper, good catch made by Mason. Tough pass, and Harper hits the three.
Harper, who hit 7 for 10 threes in the Game 4 clincher over Cleveland, where he shot 66% for the series.
Here's Harper's three that ties the game.
Indiana needs a timeout, needs to regroup. They've got a tough lineup in there, matching up Byron Scott with Anthony Mason. The Knicks just passing over the top when the defense collapses. Derek Harper lighting him up from the perimeter.
And Indiana does take a timeout with 2:45 left until halftime. It's a 20-second timeout. And of course, this is the first of 3 NBA playoff games on NBC today. Coming up will be the second game of our triple header. As one team will advance, will it be Akeem and the Rockets or Stockton and the Jazz? And then in prime time, that great matchup everyone's talking about, Michael Jordan and the Bulls, Shaq and the Magic, game 1 of their Eastern Conference semifinal series. 3 games today on NBC. Dale Davis steps.
Pacers have fallen apart. They've really not done much since Rick Smits went to the bench. Reggie Miller has to get more aggressive. They need to play with a greater sense of purpose out there as to what they're trying to do. Byron Scott playing the small forward. That's a bad matchup.
Pacers already turned it over 10 times in this first half. Oakley backing in on Byron Scott. And that is a mismatch for sure. Scott whistled for number 2.
Byron Scott is no bigger than 6'4", holds his ground, backs off. Tough to play defense if they're not going to call any offensive fouls on backing in. Although the Knicks certainly don't want to hear about offensive fouls, with Ewing saddled with 2 of those in the first half.
Charles Oakley, who had his career high free throw percentage this regular season, 79%. Ewing can only applaud in foul trouble.
But he'll be well rested, and the Knicks have done their job. They've kept it close. It's a virtual tie game. And he'll only have 3 fouls for the entire second half.
Oakley has had a big first half in the absence of Ewing, and he gives New York a 2-point edge. Off-balance shot by Jackson on the floor. Oakley tried to call a timeout as he was sailing out of bounds to prevent the turnover, and he did.
Poor shot by Mark Jackson. Races down the court, shoots it from the side, generating fast break opportunities. Starks unable to hold on to it, but always hustling Charles Oakley. Amazing he's able to come out of that bench in Indiana with all those players there.
What do you think about that rule, calling a timeout as you're sailing out of bounds?
I don't think that's a good rule at all. I think they should change that rule and not allow you to maintain possession by calling that foul. I think it's bad strategy. You need your timeout much more than you need possession of the ball. Good defensive teams like the Knicks and the Pacers, you can rely on your defense to get the ball back for you.
Larry Brown and the Pacers up early before the Knicks came storming back. And Pat Riley says that sometimes he thinks his Knick team responds to adversity. They play some of their best basketball when things are tough. Here's what he said about playing with adversity.
Yeah, I think our players respond a little bit better to an environment that has an edge. You know, for some reason, I think it's their nature. I think sometimes it's even fabricated by themselves to do it. Get your back against the wall a little bit, so we can almost have to do it the hard way.
Pat said that his team has a reservoir, he thought, of emotion, that when the finesse game wasn't working, they just did all the hard things to get themselves back on track and stay in a game. Kind of what's happened today.
It's a team that plays with as much pride as any team in basketball today. They firmly believe that they are the best. Ewing certainly capable of playing with anyone. Derek Harper and Starks, Oakley and Mason.
Final 2 minutes of the second period. Starks with a step on Miller. Missed it. And it's wrestled away by Indiana.
The Pacers aren't getting clean rebounds. Miller for three.
Miller has just disappeared. That's his first field goal attempt in 14 minutes. Smith answers on the other end. 12 points for Charles Smith, and the lead 4.
The front court shooting in the entire playoffs for the Knicks has been spectacular. Ewing, Mason, Oakley, and Smith all above 50% in the Cleveland series. Magnificent again today. The high pick and roll. Charles Smith stepping out and backing off, but where was Reggie Miller going? Why foul a guy in that situation? He's dribbling toward the sideline.
So Smith, Anthony, and Ewing all with 3 fouls apiece for the New York Knicks as Smith goes out and Hubert Davis enters.
Reggie Miller, a 2-time All-Star for the Pacers, 1990, as well as this year, the first Pacer All-Star since '77 when Billy Knight and Don Boosie both made it for the Pacers.
Knicks lead by 2. Minute 15 to play first half. Starks. Oakley. Partially blocked. Scramble. Oakley got rid of it to Starks for 3.
All set up by guard penetration. Reggie Miller allowing Starks to get to the hoop. The defense collapses, and that's Oakley and Mason and Ewing's game.
Oh, Antonio Davis misses badly, but Dale Davis for the rebound draws the foul. Here's that tough New York play that we were speaking of.
Dale Davis has no chance, nor Antonio Davis, because they're worried about Starks making layups. Oakley digs it out once again.
Here's Dale Davis at the line. He has 8 rebounds in the first half. It's just 1 below his regular season average.
Dale Davis, one of the league's premier field goal percentage shooters because of the type of shots he gets. Last 3 years in the top 5 in that category.
Rolls in the second one, cuts the lead to 3.
And when he makes 2 free throws, the Pacers can feel very relieved. I can go 2 for 1, but it's a little bit late for that for the Pacers.
Mason, fall away off the glass.
Larry Brown just tried to get out of this half with Rick Smits having only the 2 fouls. Fallen far enough behind, though, that it may hurt them unless they come out with a very strong third quarter.
Byron Scott. Saved by Hubert Davis of the Knicks. Will they get a shot off? No. First half will end that way. Starks' shot will not count. In a foul-marred first half, Patrick Ewing in foul troubles, taken only 4 shots, has 2 points. Rick Smits, hitting 6 of 9, has won the center battle so far. At the end of the first half at Madison Square Garden in New York, the New York Knicks 59 and the Indiana Pacers 54. Now stay tuned for the Prudential halftime report right after these messages.
Coming up next, the NBA playoffs continue. Friday, Hakeem and Clyde combined for 81 as the defending champion Rockets tied their series with the Jazz. Now a must-win Game 5. Then Michael, Shaq, Scotty, Penny, the marquee matchup in the NBA as the Bulls and Magic go head-to-head in prime time. Next on NBC. This is the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the Prudential. Peace of mind. It comes with every piece of the rock.
When Patrick Ewing, who had only 2 points in the first half, went to the bench with 3 fouls, the Knicks were down 9. They increased their situation by 14 points with him on the bench and lead by 5 at the half, 59-54. Charles Smith also has 3 fouls and could be in trouble in the second half for the Knicks. Julius Erving and Peter Bessie joined me. Last year in their 7-game Eastern Conference Final Series, the Knicks hit exactly 100 points in one game. Nobody else got to 100 in any of the other 6 games. Most of the games were played in the 80s. This pace is surprising.
I think it is surprising, and this is not the Knickerbocker pace. I don't think they want the game, to be in the 1-teens, the 120s. I think they'd like to keep it in the 80s or the 90s. And the Pacers have done a fine job of getting a lot of offensive rebounds, guards showing patience, delivering the ball to the low post, penetrating for spot-up jumpers. That's why they're shooting a pretty good percentage. And they're in a pretty good position here, even though they're down 5 points.
In light of the fact that Ewing and Miller are having off days, this game and very well maybe the series will be determined on whose bench is stronger. These two teams have 2 of the strongest in the league. Only the Spurs will probably have a stronger bench.
Miller with a sore right shoulder, just 1 for 7 for 9 points. Smits has 13 points to lead the Pacers. Oakley, Smith, and Starks all with a dozen for the Knicks, who lead by 5. Now, after the Knicks and the Pacers, we'll have the deciding game of the Jazz and the Rockets from Salt Lake City. The defending champs, the Rockets, versus a 60-win team in the Jazz, and one of them is going to go out in the first round. Greg Gumbel and Steve Jones have a report from the Delta Center.
All right, Bob, and the doors have not yet opened here, but once they do, the Delta Center promises to be a very noisy place for Game 5 this afternoon between the Rockets and the Utah Jazz. The Utah task is very simple. Stop the terrific duo of Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler, who in Game 4 became only the 3rd pair of teammates to score 40 or more points in a playoff game. It's a very clear-cut thing for the Jazz today, Steve.
There is no question that the combination of Drexler and Olajuwon delivers a knockout punch when they get 50 or better, and their job is to keep this crowd out of the ball game. If they get off to good starts, it's going to be silent in here, and they don't want silence on Sunday.
Now, speaking of stopping twosomes, what about Houston's job going up against Karl Malone and John Stockton?
These guys are going to set the tone not only for the crowd, but for their teammates and and they have been thirsting for this quest to get to the championship. They know that the Houston Rockets got bags packed to go on to Phoenix. They want to send him back to Houston.
Well, Karl Malone and John Stockton have a reputation of showing up each and every game, but head coach Jerry Sloan of the Jazz says he needs help from his bench today.
Boils down to the guys, I think, that are your support people, the importance of it to them. And if we can get that kind of combination, then we'll have a chance to win. We've always had pretty good success when we get a pretty good play off our bench. And that's been critical to us. If we don't get that, we'll still have a tough time winning.
Each team has won once on the other guy's court. Game 5 coming up here in Salt Lake City in just a bit. Let's go back to New York and Bob Costas.
All right, Greg and Snapper, you definitely agree with Jerry Sloan. He says he needs the play off his bench.
Yeah, you always end up telling people stuff that they already know. During the season, they were the plotters. They took control of games by getting Adam Keefe in the game, Tom Chambers, Antoine Carr, Crotty, Blue Edwards, to gain control over Houston. I think they have to play all of these people, and they have to play them significant minutes. And Crotty has to couple with Stockton to control the tempo of this game and make it a low-scoring game.
They have to win on the road, and it's something the Rockets have done before. Remember, they had to win in Phoenix a year ago after they dropped the first 2 games in Houston. They did it. They won a big game at Madison Square Garden in the finals. They won a game in this series at Delta Center earlier, so it can be done, and they have done it.
That's right, and the Jazz are better on the road than they are at home, but on a neutral site, well, I don't know who'd win that one. But I love the way what Rudy Tomjanovich did in the previous game, bringing Hakeem up top and making James Donaldson guard him up there. He had so much maneuverability. Why he hasn't done that before, I don't know. How Jerry Sloan is going to counter it, I don't know. Maybe put Karl Malone on him. If the 2 superstars go head-to-head, the referees might let them get away with more.
All right, and coming up, we'll hear from an unrestrained Shaquille O'Neal. We'll also check in on the Spurs and the Lakers. That's after this message from Prudential and a word from the NBA. Game 3 of our triple-header today, Chicago at Orlando. Jordan's Bulls against Shaq and the Magic. Shaquille O'Neal is finishing his 3rd season in the league. Generally, he's a guarded fellow when there's a TV camera around, but there's plenty of personality there, as witness this bit of business when Shaq offers play-by-play of a game-winning situation.
O'Neal steps behind the 3-point line. What is he doing? He shoots. It's good. Oh, my God. They win. Oh, no, I don't believe it. O'Neal went way out of his range and knocked the three-pointer down. He knocked it down. Woo! Orlando Magic are the National Basketball Association champs of the world, 1995. Woo! Woo! Ha ha! He knocked it down. I don't believe it. He stepped behind the line. He shot the three. He knocked it down.
The second round of, or the second game, I should say, of the Lakers and Spurs series is still to come. The Lakers lost the... Boy, this guy has completely thrown me off. He has completely thrown me off. There you have it. There's a bunch of stats, and Marianne Grabavoy has a report.
Well, thank you, Bob. Game 1 of this second round series was marked by physical intensity with tempers flaring. Late in the 4th quarter, driving to the basket, Spurs' David Robinson was fouled hard by Eldon Campbell. Robinson fell on his left elbow and hand. Campbell was charged with a flagrant foul. Just a few minutes ago, I spoke to David Robinson. He told me the elbow was sore, but it should be fine.
Eldon caught me at a funny angle, I think, and I came down hard, really on my behind and on my elbow, and it was a little sore, but I think it was just a good, hard playoff foul. I don't think that it was anything intentional, you know. So it's a little easier to take a hard foul than it is something when you think someone's trying to hurt you.
Oh, it wasn't as bad as I think people thought it was. You know, I didn't try to intentionally hurt him or anything. I just wanted to make sure he didn't get a shot up, you know, everybody just reacted to it. It wasn't, you know, I'm not that kind of player.
You know what they did in the first round. They lost by 25 points in game 1 and came back to win 3 straight.
Right. So this is no time to celebrate. We got to come back and really, if we make a statement, it's going to be Monday night because we're going to show them that we're going to protect our home court. Any team that wants to beat us in a series is going to have to beat us in San Antonio.
But in the 6 years that David Robinson has guided the Spurs, they have gone to the semis 3 times, never having gotten out alive. The Lakers know if they have a shot at this series, they must shoot better than the 40% they did yesterday. Their young backcourt combined for just 10 of 31 from the field. Cedric Ceballos, who's shooting just 32% this year here at the Alamo Dome, must find his shot tomorrow night. Back to New York and Bob Costas.
All right, that's tomorrow. Just ahead, the Knicks leading the Pacers by 5 at the half, and we'll send it back to Tom Hammond and Bill Walton for the second half after these messages from your local station.
This has been the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the Prudential. Peace of mind. It comes with every piece of the rock.
Oh, here comes Barkley. Barkley driving down the middle. He got it. Oh! Here's Oakley to Ewing. My gracious. This building is rocking. Oh! Put that one on a highlight film. Wow. Unbelievable.
Even though Patrick Ewing played only 12 minutes in the first half, the Knicks lead the Pacers 59-54 as we get ready for the start of the 3rd quarter. Actually, first half MVPs, Bill, would be the 3 officials almost. They called 29 personal fouls. They called 6 technical fouls. It really has changed the whole nature of the game.
We thought this would be a defensive struggle, but the way the refs are calling it, it's become offense. Who would ever dream that this would be a 59-54 ball game in this situation? And the playoffs are all about adjustments. The Pacers haven't made that offensive adjustment. They're still thinking defense, and guys like Reggie Miller, Derek McKee, and Byron Scott have just not responded. No offense there, and for the Knicks to get out with Ewing having 2 points, and they're still ahead. That's unbelievable for the Knicks.
Here's our Miller Genuine Draft halftime stats.
3-point field goals for the Knicks. Red hot. The Pacers, the big donut, John Starks. Very solid first half. He's one of 3 Knicks with 12 points, all 3 of them starters. Fouls, the big story here, 29 overall. Ewing with foul trouble. He'll make the adjustments, though. He's been in these games many times before. Now it's up to the Pacers to respond.
And we'll see which team responds in the second half. We start the 3rd with the Knicks up 5. As we get ready to start the third quarter at Madison Square Garden, Patrick Ewing getting attention to his troublesome calves. They have bothered him throughout the season. And he sat a lot of time on the bench, so he's coming in cold to start the third. Rick Smith's the leading point getter in the game. But look at the balanced Knicks scoring in the absence of Patrick Ewing, who played only 12 minutes with 3 personal fouls in the first half.
Oakley and Smith combining 10 for 12 shooting. Remarkable support. This team has really learned that it's just not Patrick Ewing.
So we begin the third quarter with each team having its original starting quintet intact. McKee got a step on Smith and laid it in.
Finally, a strong penetration and a strong finish. Derek McKee with a very quiet 8 points in the first half, now with 10.
Ewing low post against Smith. His fall away rims out. Offensive board, though, by Oakley.
Oakley's having his way with Dale Davis.
Ewing gives it up to Oakley for the jam.
I didn't think Oakley could still dunk.
14 points. Oakley becomes the leading scorer in the game.
Oakley, a 10-year veteran. Last year, Smith's able to get behind Ewing for another easy basket.
And McKee made the pass.
I'd isolate right there. Charles Smith trying to pick up a foul on Smith. Illegal defense. Confusion on behalf of Indiana. The give and go is a basic Ewing, Oakley, dump it in. Dale Davis standing and watching. Got to move your feet. Oakley last year made his first all-star team. Made the all-defensive team.
Ewing. Patrick Ewing's 4th point. And the Knicks up 63-58.
The Knicks, who only shot 47% in the regular season, shot well over 50%, almost 52% against Cleveland, and continue to shoot great today as Smith can dunk without leaving the ground.
As he wheeled to the hoop, a strong move by Rick Smith. Now with 17 on 8 of 11 shooting.
And the offense continues to flow. You're looking at a game in the 110s.
Oakley's shot, partially blocked, I think, by Davis. Missed anyway, and Jackson takes it for the Pacers.
In the last 2 years, the Pacers have only, beautiful pass.
That's 2 this half for McKee. As the assist pickup for the 6'10 Pacer small forward. Ball out of bounds, last touch by the Pacers.
Rick Smith's matched up against Oakley because Ewing's got the fouls. The Pacers have only averaged 84 points a game in head-to-head matchups with the Knicks the last 2 years. Only one time over 100 points. They've lost almost every one of those games.
All the way by Oakley, no good. Davis the rebound, and the Pacers a chance to take the lead. 9 boards for Dale Davis.
Looked like a traveling violation that time. Can't step into your jumper and then not take it.
Oakley strips it away from Smits, but it's saved by McKee. Smits with a tap. It won't go. Oakley outlet to Harper.
Rush shot to beat the shot clock. Oakley, very solid low post defender.
Around the horn to Harper for 3. Bad looking shot. Miller takes it the other way.
Watch your face on those shots, but it's the defense of the guards for New York. Starks and Harper. Stoppage of play for equipment.
Starks may be cut and bleeding. Let's see.
Joe Crawford always on top of everything. Been an NBA official since 1977. Gonna have to.
So they're going to patch up Starks as Hubert Davis comes in to replace him. And Antonio Davis on for the Pacers as Smits goes out.
Good use of the big wide body screen. Reggie Miller taking advantage of Smits in transition. Just put a big Band-Aid over there, glue it on. You don't run on your forehead.
A little dirt on him and get back in the game. Miller Off-balance shot as he went to the deck. Then he hits it, and Miller shows signs of finding the range now with 13 points.
And look how the players have made the adjustments. The referees have not had to do anything in this half.
6-0 run for the Pacers has carried them in front of the Knicks. 64-63.
Good defense, Reggie Miller.
Hubert Davis. Long range two for Davis, his first basket. Knicks back up.
Hubert Davis, 4th in the NBA in three-point field goal percentage, had by far his best season. And playing terrific defense here.
Reggie Miller hacked as he got the shot away.
Reggie Miller a moment ago will hit this nice curling jumper. But the Knicks are so disciplined in forcing Miller to his left. Reggie says, what, I don't get a foul when I go to the ground? But when you force him left, make him pump fake, a lot less effective. Reggie Miller 1 for 7 in the first half. Very quiet for the guy who was the 5th best three-point shooter in terms of makes this year in the NBA. Starks, of course, number 1.
Reggie is 8 for 8 at the free throw line.
Reggie's also become quite a proficient defensive player.
4th in the league, 89.7%. Starks has got the patch over that eye now to stop the bleeding, but still on the sideline.
The Knicks have to find a way to stop their bleeding.
Harper, penetration, draws a Pacer foul.
Solid collapsing defense that time. They're going to call that on the pass.
3rd foul on Antonio Davis. Excuse me, Bill. So Davis and McKee with 3 fouls each for the Pacers.
Ewing in the post. Solid defense by Antonio Davis.
Here is Ewing. Unstoppable with that one. And the Knicks by 1.
I'm surprised they took Smits out of the game. He's not in more foul trouble. He didn't pick up his 3rd, did he? Oh, excellent defensive rotation by Ewing.
No, Smits now returns to the game, Bill.
Indiana just not getting good looks. Every shot is contested. The Knick offense is efficient enough. They're not turning the ball over or taking wild shots. Stark's been under control. Charles Smith as well.
Rick Smits, he's hot. 19 points on 9 of 13 shooting for the big guy. 7'4" Rick Smits.
Very little Oakley can do in that situation. The guy is 7'4", just wheeling, turning, firing jumpers.
Also he can't hit. Dale Davis called for the foul. His 2nd.
There hasn't been a cross-eyed look the entire second half. Obviously, the coaches got their message across that the referees delivered. Pick and roll.
Ewing and Reggie Miller the board. Miller right around Hubert Davis, and Oakley over to help, rejects it out of bounds. And a timeout taken by New York after this defensive play by Charles Oakley on the help defense.
Reggie Miller just trying to draw the foul there. Doesn't get it. Terrific block, Oakley.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Delta Faucet Company. Delta, the way water is brought to life. And by IBM, solutions for a small planet.
Indiana coach Larry Brown interested in the result of the Kentucky Derby yesterday because Thunder Gulch trained by his friend Wayne Lucas, who is a former basketball coach. Of course, the Derby doesn't hold many fond memories for Pat Riley. When he was at the University of Kentucky, he went to his first Derby. He had a convertible. He was dressed to the nines with his girlfriend Got through all the traffic, went to what he thought was the valet Parker as a 20-second timeout is called. Riley gave his keys to the valet man, went in and enjoyed the Derby, came back out. That's the last he saw of his car. And he paid the guy to steal his car.
What is a college student doing with a convertible?
I don't know. Now, that's the question you'll have to ask Pat.
Of course, Tom, you were a college classmate of Pat Riley at Kentucky. What was he like back then in the mid-60s?
He was the least likely guy you would think to be the focused, introspective, dedicated coach that he is now. He was, to put it delicately, happy-go-lucky in college.
One of the great coaches, though, of all time. A 9-year professional career as a player. The Rockets, the Lakers, the Phoenix Suns. Only coach in history with 4 consecutive 60-victory seasons. Great defense by the Knicks again, forcing guards left.
Jackson misses the shot on the floor.
And Oakley everywhere, as always.
60% shooting this quarter by Indiana, only 40% for the Knicks. It's a one-point game. New York with a chance to reclaim the lead. Starks misses the layup. Wrestled away. Still loose. Get a stick and kill it.
Mark Jackson and Reggie Miller have to assert themselves better. The defense for Starks and Harper has just been tremendous as Derek McKee wakes up.
He has a dozen points. Pacers by 3. Ewing against Smits. No double team. Ewing couldn't get the roll. And a loose ball foul called on Indiana.
Dale Davis seems out of sync. He's a better player than he is going today. He is allowing basically whoever he's guarding. Now, granted, Dale Davis is plagued by sore shoulder. That right shoulder dislocated 2 times this season. Missed only 8 games. This guy is really tough, but he's allowing Oakley and Smith and Mason to have their way.
Starks missed badly on a tray, and Ewing couldn't follow it in, but manages to chase it down.
Mark Jackson or Reggie Miller have to cut the foul line on that play.
Skip it across court to Starks for 3. Jackson has Miller out in front. Miller spotted for the 3, and he got it.
And turns and looks at Spike Lee and Derek Harper.
And Pat Riley calls for a 20-second timeout. Reggie Miller finding the range now with 18 points, 9 here in the third.
Mark Jackson, as good as anyone at finding guys behind him, looks off Derek McKee. But that look, knowing McKee's pounding the floor, draws Derek Harper a step closer to the basket. And can you get a technical for taunting the crowd?
Reggie Miller going to at least verbally take on all 19,000 plus here at Madison Square Garden. 7-0 run by the Pacers as the Indiana team gets its first 3-point shot of the game. One of the better 3-point shooters during the regular season, shooting teams at 38%.
Charlotte, of course, right up there with the Pacers, with Seattle, some of the best 3-point shooting teams.
In fact, Indiana was 3rd in the league. Starks for a 3. Smits couldn't handle it. Smits had Ewing blocked off the boards, and then Oakley waiting in there is assessed a personal foul.
Somebody finally put a body on Charles Oakley, and he didn't like that, so he just threw him out of the way. You mentioned earlier about Reggie Miller taking on the whole crowd. That's the best part of basketball. When you come in and get the road victory and they're all booing and you're playing great, jumpers are falling, blocking shots.
That Spike Lee, Reggie Miller back and forth in last season's playoffs was great theater.
Got him going right. That's a good move for Miller.
And for 3, it won't go. McKee, the offensive board. Smits calls. He misses. Tap no good. Again, Smits down with it, and this time he makes sure. Delay of game warning against the Pacers as Indiana crashing the offensive boards, and they've scored 9 points in a row.
Smits, though, showing the patience, not trying to tip the ball. When you're that big, and then again, I just bring the ball down and go back up. The way they're calling fouls, you'll get to the line every time. A little bit of over-dribbling by Mason.
6 to shoot. Harper on the floor. Oakley has it. Saved it to Harper. Great play by Oakley. And then over on the Pacer bench, they tried to cushion his fall, and Oakley came up swinging.
This will be a very difficult call to make by the officials because Oakley was in among the Pacer bench. The jump shot there, John Starks pushes Reggie Miller into the crowd. But what started this whole thing was Oakley once again diving for loose balls, and as he did in the first half. Pacer bench didn't do anything.
Watch Starks send Reggie Miller flying. A little bit of acting by Reggie. Always count on him for some extra theatrics. And then Oakley, I thought the Pacer bench was trying to cushion him, but maybe they were doing more than that. Oh, yeah, somebody grabbed hold of him. I think Haywood Workman, and it was Workman that got the technical foul. They grabbed hold of Oakley as he was trying to get back on the court.
Called the sixth man defense.
Ewing again misses in tight. 2-on-1. Scott lays it up. No good. Mason takes it out on the dribble.
Too tentative for the Pacers at the hoop.
Harper got it. McKee left open. Back rim, Antonio Davis fouled as he goes back up, and Harper and Davis square off, pushing and shoving.
Totally uncalled for by both players, both teams. A hard foul by Derek Harper. Referees sort it out. The offensive rebound. Mason fails to block out the step through. We're going to call the push in the back by Antonio Davis. That, I believe, is his first technical. But are they going to call a flagrant foul there? Smits in there trying to break everything up.
The Peacemakers were as dangerous as the Flyers.
There's no love lost between these two teams.
Well, we knew that, and that was the reason the officials tried to establish control with all the fouls in the first half.
And it looked like control had been established.
And Antonio Davis had a technical foul in the first half, I think. So if he's assessed a technical here, he'll be gone.
Antonio Davis is going to shoot him. Okay, we're ejecting Antonio. Wait a minute. Come here, Larry. We're ejecting Derek. Okay. Now you shoot. You pivot. You shoot for two shots. Plus they get the ball back.
Joey Crawford explaining to both coaches the situation. Larry Brown does not like the result, as Antonio Davis will be ejected if that's his second technical.
Antonio Davis obviously thinks he's been ejected.
All right, now what we're going to do is Pat Riley picks the shooters from the four on the floor. All right? Indiana's going to shoot two, flagrant penalty one. Then we got double technical fouls on Derek Harper and Antonio. They're both ejected.
So Antonio Davis and Derek Harper are both ejected from the game with their second technical fouls. There was also a flagrant foul called on Harper.
Antonio Davis of New York and Antonio Davis of Indiana and Derek Harper of New York. It is their second technical. In each case, they are both ejected.
A disastrous situation for both teams. Derek Harper, the key point guard. Now it's on to Greg Anthony. And your top sub, your top rebounder, your top scoring sub leaves for Indiana. Your backup to Smits, the guy who's got to box Ewing. Uncalled for. No place in basketball for that.
The officials tried to send the message in the first half. We thought the players had heeded it the way the third quarter began, but obviously not, and it's going to cost somebody dearly. I believe New York perhaps got the worst of the trade. As you said, two key players, but Harper's so important to the Knicks attack. He leaves with 10 points and 5 assists. Antonio Davis had only 1 point and 3 rebounds.
But give Greg Anthony credit. Yes, Derek Harper is a first-level player, and Anthony just a substitute at this point in his career, but he has learned how to play well, and he plays his best when it's on the line. It appears to be a doomed situation.
So play resumes, just over 3 minutes left in the third. Pacers up 7 with the ball. Smits turns on Ewing and connects. Smits having a big game, 25 points.
Smits feels at this point that he can do anything. Almost every shot he throws up is going down. Difficult jumpers, turnarounds from 17 feet. Jackson missed a golden opportunity for a steal, but the Knicks turn it right back over.
Oakley's pass from Mason does not find the mark. It sails out of bounds. Timeout. You're watching the NBA on NBC. Welcome back to the Garden, where emotions have been escalating. This was a trigger point as Oakley, saving the ball, fell into the Pacer bench. Haywood Workman grabbed a hold of him. Oakley knocked his hand away, and words were exchanged. Technical foul on Workman.
And then a moment after that, Antonio Davis on an offensive rebound, stick-back opportunity. Flagrant foul called there, technical foul after Harper's flagrant. The push in the back, and then Harper coming right back at him, gets his own technical. They both picked up tees in the first half. They're ejected. Riley gets to pick the shooter. Smits knocks down the free throws.
So Antonio Davis of Indiana, Derek Harper of New York, disqualified with 2 technical fouls as Ewing rebounds that miss.
Wild shot by McKee. Solid defense. Typical of Oakley's play throughout.
Mason almost lost it.
Shot clock.
2 to shoot. Anthony barely hit the iron. Offensive board. Starks for 3.
Fine decision by Ewing. Knowing it's not his offensive day. Let the game come to you. Pass the ball. Play some defense. Get some rebounds. Pacers are going to have to withstand a furious charge here by the Knicks.
Overshooting. Ewing to get it to Smits. And Rick is fouled as he takes it to the basket. Nice pass.
What an entry pass by Byron Scott, who played so many years with the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Jabbar going into the Hall of Fame a week from tomorrow, but that entry pass right on the money by Byron Scott.
Here's a look at the technical fouls. Antonio Davis and Derek Harper disqualified with 2 each. Jackson and Workman also picking up 1 for Indiana. And you saw that many New York Knicks players also assessed a technical foul in this game. 9 technical fouls called.
Now the Knicks have to play with their 2 offensive weapons. Their creator, Derek Harper, and their big finisher, Ewing, out of the game. Ewing, of course, will be back.
Sits down with 4 fouls and 1:38 to play in the third as Smits misses. Oakley rebounds. Haywood Workman has replaced Mark Jackson for the Pacers.
Second string backcourt for Indiana.
Starks. Eric McKee's foul. That's his 4th foul.
Starks is doing a solid job of curling around the post when he's coming flashing for the ball. The Pacer big guys have to step up and deny that curl. Get in his cutting lane. More pressure on the ball. for the Pacer defense.
Dwayne Farrell making an appearance in the Indiana lineup as McKee to the bench with 4 fouls. That was just the 4th Indiana team foul. Penalty on the next. Starks lays it in. Somehow got free to the hoop.
Now there's no shot blocking presence. Smith, yes, at 7'4", is big, but is he the defensive stopper that a Dale Davis and Antonio Davis? No.
Workman lost it as he tried to pass. Picked up by Smith. Final minute of the third.
Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson had control of the game, it seemed like. Then they get taken out.
Mason in traffic. Got it. Lead cut to 3.
Crowd is in it for one of the few times today.
Scott. It rimmed out to Mason.
It has not been Byron Scott's day.
And the Knicks will hold for the final shot of the period. Anthony for 3. Workman from backcourt, way off the mark. The Indiana Pacers taking command in the third, only to see the Knicks get back in it. At the end of 3, the Indiana Pacers 80, New York Knicks 77. Back after these messages and a word from your local station. The advantage has been batted back and forth in this one. Indiana built a 9-point lead during the third quarter, only to see the Knicks mount a 7-1 run to end the period. Fourth quarter underway with Indiana up 3.
Starks is the guy that the Pacers have to concentrate on. They got Byron Scott, a tremendous defender on him.
Oakley lost it. Off Smith's knee and out of bounds with 5 to shoot.
Smith couldn't believe that ball came right to him.
He used to play soccer in Holland, didn't he?
7'4" soccer players. I don't know how effective they can be.
3 to shoot. Oakley for 3. Starks made the acrobatic pass, but the 3 would not go down.
Pacers need to get something going that they can call a disciplined offense. Mason, too much contact in the post, just pushing the big guy off. That's his 3rd.
Patrick Ewing remains on the bench with 4 fouls to start this final period. Total fouls.
Derek McKee's also got 4. Antonio Davis has been ejected. Big problems front court for Indiana.
Workman with a quick move on Anthony, and then the help comes from Smith to the block. Starks pulls up, and Smith's the board.
And the Pacers did a good job in nullifying that fast break. Mason was down there for the offensive board, but Sam Mitchell and Farrell just cleared him out, allowed their teammates to get the ball.
Scott. Call for the offensive foul. Byron Scott's 3rd personal.
Byron Scott, one of the game's great playoff performers in history, the 4th active scorer behind Jordan, Robert Parrish, and Hakeem Olajuwon. Just having as bad a day as you can possibly have.
Hand check, foul, Dwayne Farrell of Indiana.
Maybe it was when they held him down and shaved his head, Byron Scott, down in Atlanta after they swept, as part of a deal he made.
I still can't get used to Scott shaving head. Smith clears out, made himself a little space, and a foul called on Indiana. Mitchell.
The Knicks doing a good job here. They've taken Starks out. Starks was gunning him up from 3. But the lineup that Indiana has, the Knicks should be going to the hoop every single time. Post up Charles Smith, post up Mason. second unit as Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson languish on the bench.
Smits against Mason. Just turns and shoots.
Generally a big guy like a Smits, once they get the towering opponent Ewing out of the game with fouls, they'll relax a little bit. And they'll succumb to the undercutting, the pushing out of a Mason or an Oakley. But Smits has delivered throughout.
Just one short of his career playoff high. He has 28 points. Foul call in Indiana as we take a break. You're watching the NBA on NBC.
A must-win Game 5 for the Rockets and Jazz. Then the Bulls and Magic in prime time. Next.
Miller Genuine Draft presents Genuine Moments.
This Miller moment takes us back to 1970. It was exactly 25 years ago tomorrow that the New York Knicks, led by Willis Reed's heroic performance, beat the LA Lakers 113-99 to win their first NBA championship. In recognition of this moment, Miller Genuine Draft will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. And there, the World Championship banner, 1969-70 season. And there's Clyde Walt Frazier, who had 36 points.
There's a tremendous picture entering the Knicks training room. Willis Reed laying on the floor with a quote on it saying, "I'll crawl into that championship game to get this done." He did. They got it done. Brilliant performance by the entire Knicks team that day.
Anthony Mason, strong move to the basket to tie the game at 82.
Shuffle off, it's down screen, and then flash into the post, and the Pacers just can't hold on to the ball. And Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson continue on the bench. When you're out that long, you always run the risk of not being able to turn it back on. They had the grease rolling there. Smits dangerous with the dribble.
Workman puts it up. Oakley kept it alive. Charles Smith collars it, and the Knicks have a chance to take the lead.
This is not the type of game where you're tired. They've blown so many whistles, so many fouls, that you're always stopping.
Reggie Miller up off the bench will come back in. Indiana led by 9 in the third quarter. Davis for 3. Workman way up for the board.
The Knicks have not taken advantage of this small lineup. Now the bigger guys are back in.
Smits got away from the double team and is fouled. As Miller and Jackson re-enter the lineup.
Smits, who just keeps playing better and better as his career goes on. His 7th year now out of Marist College here in New York. Had his best season this year, Smits. 18 points, 8 boards a game. A significant improvement on the defensive rebounding side.
And the Duncan Dutchman equals his career playoff high, 29 points. That foul, by the way, the 4th on New York's Charles Smith. .30 new career playoff high for the Duncan Dutchman.
And he stayed out of foul trouble.
Anthony whips it inside. Ewing, foul as he tried to take it to the basket. Or is it knocked out of bounds? No foul called. Knicks will get it back with 10 to shoot.
Double screen for Hubert Davis. Reggie Miller. Joe Crawford right on top of it.
New York retains possession. Now 7 on the shot clock.
Miller had a save attempt, but the ball went straight down instead of back and into Starks' legs. Davis's legs, excuse me.
Hubert Davis pumps, shoots over Smits, no good. And Dale Davis has the rebound.
Post up Smits again. Why go away from that?
Miller off a screen. There's the post by Smits against Mason. And Smits gave Mason a shove in the small of the back to pick up the foul. That was needless by Smits. Had position, had the ball with nobody between he and the basket.
You have to wait. You have to be patient, particularly a guy like Mason who's going to flop a lot. Easy flop.
Anthony, penetration and bucket.
Greg Anthony's kept himself together all year. Didn't play a majority of the mid part of the season. A regular on the DNP list.
Mason, a reach-in foul on Rick Smits, hacked him on the arm. That's 4 on Anthony Mason.
Greg Anthony playing in place of the ejected Derek Harper, just right down the lane, and again taking advantage of Mark Jackson's inability to guard people on the perimeter.
Smits hits his 31st point. He has 7 rebounds too, and look at the foul trouble. It's an extensive list.
More serious for New York.
Already 2 players ejected for picking up 2 technical fouls. Derek Harper of New York, Antonio Davis of Indiana. Smits, dead eye on the free throw line. He's hit 8 of 9 at the strike today.
High pick and roll. The weave, the dump it down into post. Beautiful set offense.
Ewing fouled. Rick Smits, number 4. Foul shooting could decide this one. 6:52 remaining. Welcome back to Madison Square Garden. Pacers leading the Knicks 86-84. Coming up next, the second game of our triple header as Houston meets Utah. That series has seesawed back and forth. The winner today moves on in the playoffs. And then game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinal match between the Bulls and the Magic. Shaq against Michael.
All on Akeem Olajuwon's shoulder. The defending king, MVP, regular season and the playoffs. It'll be very difficult to keep them out. Houston has to stay close, though, with great outside shooting.
Ewing at the free throw line. We've played 41 minutes. We've had 47 personal fouls called and 9 technicals. That 47 personal fouls ties for the 4th most ever in playoff history. The record is 55 personal fouls in a playoff game. Syracuse at Boston for overtime game in 1953.
For the Pacers to try to reassert control. You don't want to win this game by 1 point at the buzzer if you're Indiana.
I suspect they'll take a win here anyway they can get it, but I know what you're saying. Miller had it blocked by Davis, got it back and missed badly. Here's the outlet, Davis against Jackson. Oh! Hubert Davis laid it in right over Mark Jackson.
The Knicks strategy. Honed so well last year in the Eastern Conference Finals. Force Reggie Miller left. They can put it on the floor and then stay down. He'll pump fake it, but he draws a foul by Hubert Davis away from the ball. Force him left. Be patient. Let him leave the ground first. Bring him back left again. 2 block shots. Ewing, of course, the 3rd leading block shot career active player in the NBA history.
New York by 1, approaching the 6-minute mark.
Smits in the post.
Mason trying to front him. Smits calls for it, but they can't get it to him. Here's McKee. Floater no good. Ewing tapped it out and can't save it.
That's a terrible shot by Derek McKee. Patrick Ewing seemed to be 6 steps out of bounds by the time they called that timeout.
And Larry Brown wanted a walking call before he called it. He called a timeout to save the turnover. We'll be back.
You're watching the NBA playoffs on NBC.
Basketball is the only game that I can think of that you can call timeout while the ball's still in play. Ewing was not out of bounds. Larry Brown wanted to travel, maybe a little bit of a hop. Certainly not enough, though, to call that on Patrick Ewing, where every possession is so crucial, and the Knicks throw it away on an inbound pass after a timeout.
Just as you said, every possession was crucial. They waste one.
No wonder coaches have nightmares.
Rick Smits hoping to use this series against Patrick Ewing to make a statement that he's among the NBA's elite. Reggie Miller missing a three.
The Knicks defense is too tough. Pacers can't get good shots unless they go to Rick Smits, and he's having trouble getting the ball.
Reggie Miller only 4 of 15 shooting. Charles Smith can't hit. Ewing with a tap, no good. And waiting in for the rebound is Dale Davis.
That's the rebound you got to bring down and go back up with, as opposed to try to make a difficult 4-foot tap.
Patrick Ewing only 3 of 12 shooting. So the marquee players, Miller and Ewing, non-factors in the game. There's Mark Jackson with a spinning move.
It's the opportunity of a lifetime for Mark Jackson. His perfect chance to get back. You don't get many chances like that.
Mark Jackson, spending 5 years in a Knicks uniform, was Rookie of the Year for New York. Thomas Wolfe said, "You can't go home again." Mark Jackson trying to prove him wrong.
Jackson with the teardropper in the lane. Jackson was the 18th overall pick in the '87 draft. Imagine the 18th pick getting Rookie of the Year. The league has changed a lot.
John Starks back in, almost ran over Miller. No whistle, and Patrick Ewing finds the range. New York leads 89-88.
Number one key to beating the Knicks is to deny the penetration of the guards. The Pacers have not done that today.
Jackson cut off on his penetration. Here's Starks wide open.
No one defends the pick and roll better than the New York Knicks. Ewing steps up, forces the turnover. Starks finishes.
Coming up next, the NBA playoffs continue. Friday, Akeem and Clyde combined for 81 as the defending champion Rockets tied their series with the Jazz. Now a must-win Game 5. Then Michael, Shaq, Scotty, Penny, the marquee matchup in the NBA as the Bulls and Magic go head-to-head in prime time. Next on NBC.
They come off that pick and roll, and Ewing comes from the weak side, stands up, and the Pacers offense, they're being pushed back on their heels. What you're supposed to do on offense is make the defense be on their heels. The Knicks firmly in control.
Larry Brown saying last year in the playoff series against the Knicks, they gave away the first 2 games. They may look back at this one and see a missed opportunity with Ewing having an off day and Derek Harper ejected from the game. Smits with a rare miss. New York has it.
We talked at the beginning how Rick Smits and Reggie Miller have to be great. Being good is not enough.
And Miller is not having a good day. He's missed his last 4 shots. He picks off that one from Starks. Smits, low block. Ewing draws the double team from Mason. And Smits with a tough shot in the face of Patrick Ewing. He has 34 points.
How great is that to come right back after you miss one, maybe lose a little bit of confidence. The players dump it right back down. He delivers.
1-point game, New York. Ewing double team, whips it to Anthony for 3. Greg Anthony replacing Derek Harper, who picked up 2 technical fouls with a clutch 3. He has 13 points. That's his 3rd tray.
The offense has really slowed down. This is the final score of the 7th game, where Ewing had 25 points and 24 points, 22 boards.
Jackson, a penetrating move. The lead is 2.
Trying to get the ball out of Greg Anthony's hand.
McKee of Indiana as Oakley bulled to the basket. That's 5 on McKee.
Pacers did a nice job at the double team in the backcourt. Ewing looks off the near guy, Oakley, on the slash cut. The defense had to collapse to deny that, and Greg Anthony has come up huge for the Knicks in relief.
Charles Oakley's hit all 3 of his free throw attempts in the game. He has 15, now 16 points.
Oakley, 2.5 months with the dislocated toe. Surgery to repair that joint. Hasn't missed a beat.
Hit 2. New York leads 96-92. Time left, just under 2.5. Miller fouled. John Starks tripping Reggie Miller. Second foul on Starks.
Reggie Miller is going to have to do more of that. Force himself coming back right. He's showing that he can't deliver going to his left. Going to have to take that punishment. The Knicks will gladly dish it out, but Reggie Miller, one of the great free throw shooters of all time, one of the most durable players in basketball as well.
And 9 for 9 before that miss. That was the 50th personal foul called in this game, 5 short of the record. Spike Lee celebrates a rare free throw miss by Reggie Miller, who comes back to sink the second. 3-point Knicks lead. 19 points for Reggie Miller.
Dale Davis, you just back off of him. You're not going to be able to get a steal from Mason.
Mason fouled.
And you just give him by trying to reach and make a steal. How many times in Dale Davis's life has he stripped the ball from somebody in the backcourt? He's a banger underneath. He's out there. Smits, a hard foul in the reach-in.
So Smits coming to help out is assess the foul, and that's his 5th personal foul. Smits, who has scored 34 points. Mason comes up short.
That's where team defense has to come in. If Mason's going to bring the ball out the court, let him. Just deny everybody else and make Mason beat you from 20 feet. Make him be the playmaker.
Mason has 12 off the New York bench. The Knicks bench has outscored the Pacer bench 29-12. Second free throw good. It's a 4-point Knicks lead.
Pacers aren't stopping them. Knicks are basically scoring every possession. And right now, just matching is not enough as Ewing gets the bump foul. You want to bump cutters, you have to. You can't allow guys coming through. That's Ewing's 5th, and Miller back to the line for 2 more.
And that is the 52nd foul called in the game.
But in Ewing's situation, you've got to step over there in anticipation, not wait till he's already sliding by the screen.
Reggie Miller looking over at Spike Lee as he makes that free throw, and Spike responds. Here we go again.
Pacers have to win some of these games first, though.
They're within 2.
One game here and there every year. That's just not enough.
Magic number for Indiana to win is usually 100. They have 95. Smits just fouled out of the game. He had a great one, a career playoff high 34 points and 7 rebounds.
Indiana has to stay together. They've lost their main offensive force today. Antonio Davis, the normal backup center, ejected in the first half. Excuse me, early in the second. And now Ewing's patience, his experience. Spitz just moves up too close. Keep those arms up. Don't reach in. A lot of ball, but plenty of arm as well.
hits two. Timeout, Indiana. 1:40 left in game one. The Knicks lead 99-95. We said earlier Rick Smith's wanting to make a statement in this series against Patrick Ewing that he belongs among the NBA's elite centers. He certainly had the edge on Ewing today. He just fouled out, though, hurting Indiana's chances.
The numbers that count, though, are the one that's going to be the first one to 4 in terms of victories. Shot clock going to be a problem here. Pacers into nothing offensively.
Jackson spins, blocked. Again missed underneath.
Shot clock, shot clock.
Shot clock expires. Did the Pacers call a timeout first? Now the discussion. We have a timeout. We'll be back after a word from your local station. On that last play, there was no shot clock violation. Oakley had possession, and before he sailed out of bounds, called timeout. So New York timeout, Knicks possession.
They've done that 3 times effectively today.
And I believe they're out of timeouts. They are indeed out of timeouts. Ewing's turnaround partially blocked by Davis. Reggie Miller against Starks, laid it in. 2-point game.
Now Jackson has got to take advantage of Greg Anthony. Those silly plays by gambling Indiana defense. They got plenty of time left in this game.
You see the game clock on the right of your screen. Ewing turns on Davis and feeds to Mason. And one. Derek McKee is just fouled out of the game.
Ewing, who started the season slow due to the offseason knee surgery, carries his team down the stretch on their relentless pursuit of their first championship in 22 years here in New York. Ewing, the similar pose to the celebration at the end of last year's 7-game series. Just getting started today, though. And it's the road victories that are the ones that are going to be important in this series.
Byron Scott has replaced McKee, so Larry Brown getting another 3-point shooter in the game as Mason attempts the free throw and comes up short, but Anthony waits in for the rebound. Big board.
Got a foul. They got a foul right away. They wasted 10 seconds. How many times are games decided by the rebounds on free throws, not free throws that are made?
And Greg Anthony, what a big role he has played in this game. Smith's fouled out with 34. Ewing had an off day. And Anthony, who came in for Derek Harper after Harper picked up his second technical, has come up big for New York.
Greg Anthony learned sitting on the bench, kept his mouth shut this year, matured a lot. Again, his 4th season. So much promise coming out of UNLV. Finally coming to the top.
Starks hits 2. New York leads 103-97 as the Pacers call a timeout. So Greg Anthony with that big rebound. He has scored 13 points, including a key 3, and the Knicks in control. 103-97, New York leading, 24.7 seconds left. Anthony, one of the heroes. Mason, 2 off the New York bench. In a game that has seen 55 personal fouls, tying the NBA playoff record set in a 4 overtime game in 1953. Byron Scott fouled. That'll set the record. Maybe Anthony's not a hero after all.
The bench for New York was key today, with Harper and Ewing not having the typical big games, although Ewing was magnificent in the stretch. The numbers won't show that. Mason and Greg Anthony supreme today.
We're looking forward to this one. Game 5, Houston and Utah will be going right there as soon as this game is over. That's the middle game of our triple-header. Game 5, the Rockets and the Jazz. Scott hits 2.
Go for the steal, if not, foul immediately.
There's the immediate foul. Greg Anthony will step to the Knick line with 18.7 seconds left. New York leading 103-99. Well, Larry Brown said that his Pacer team came in unlike the last 2 seasons, thinking they could beat New York. This Madison Square Garden arena has been a house of horrors for them overall, but he seemed to be confident. Can this Pacer team beat New York?
They're going to have to play a lot better than they played today. Anthony gets the first one, but the Pacers got a break with Ewing in early careless foul trouble. Both teams feeling their way out. The game never achieved its flow until late. Harper gets ejected, and they still can't take advantage. Smits has a monster game.
Greg Anthony hits 2 to extend the New York lead. 105-99, 18.7 seconds left.
The Knicks defense stifling today, as expected. The Pacer offense not disciplined enough, not hungry enough, not sharp enough to get Reggie Miller the shots he needs, to get Derek McKee the ball where he needs it so he can take shots other than fading to his left across the key.
Underway, Houston and Utah tied it too early. We'll be going there at the conclusion of this game. A game that's seen nearly 60 fouls called. Actually, that is short of the record for both teams in a playoff game. Miller for 3, and he got it. Reggie Miller with a clutch tray, and it's 105-102. And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line and hits again.
Tie game. No need to foul in that situation.
And the foul is called with 13.2 seconds. Reggie Miller made a 3, stole the ball, raced behind the three-point line, and hit again.
What presence of mind, but then to foul there. The Knicks had no timeouts. You basically had to play for overtime if you're the Pacers in that situation. Miller's going to make, after he sets the screen, he steps behind, makes the first jumper. On the inbound pass, Greg Anthony stumbles, and they can't get it to him. The ball gets stolen. Mason not able to call timeout.
Starks misses. Neither team has a timeout remaining.
Pacers have to box out here if they expect to win this game. Last time, similar situation, Anthony with the offensive board. A make is okay for the Pacers.
Starks misses. Batted around. Ewing has it. His shot, no good. Reggie Miller the rebound and a foul with 7.5 seconds.
And Pat Riley is saying, what is going on here? My normally surefire shooter, John Starks, one of the great clutch players in basketball. Streaky, yes, but normally finishes plays like that. Misses 2 free throws. Pacers still can't get the rebound. And now Reggie Miller at the line for 2 free throws after Ewing just a bit long.
Miller has hit 12 of 13 in the game. For only the second time in 16 games here at the Garden against the New York Knicks, Indiana has reached 100 points. They won the other time. Maybe this will be the magic number for them here as well.
It's like Indiana's win in game 1 at Orlando last year.
Miller hits 2.
No timeouts.
Anthony stumbles and falls. Time runs out. Reggie Miller scoring 8 points in the final 32 seconds. Taunting Spike Lee and 19,000 at Madison Square Garden.
One of the most remarkable comebacks in all of basketball. They never gave up, and the Knicks gave them a chance. Missed free throws.
And Dan Hicks has Reggie Miller. Dan?
All right, Tom, just an unexpected turn of events there in the last minute. What was going through your mind? You knew you had to get a quick couple threes.
Well, we knew we had to get a three. We were down by 6. If we got a quick three on that, we knew they had no timeouts. We had to pressure the ball. We overplayed Anthony. Mason choked and threw it to me. I hit a three. And we almost cost us the game when Sam, made that foul, but John Starks choked. We came up big.
Reggie, maybe the difference between this year's team and last year's team, this team never gave up hope during the last portions of this game, even though it looked like you were on the losing end.
Last year, I'm not going to lie, coming in here for the Eastern Conference Final, we didn't think we could win. We feel we can sweep this team. This is for you, Indiana. We're coming back. Yes!
All right, Tom Hammond.
All right, Dan. Reggie Miller, 8 points in the final 32 seconds. We'll have more post-game interviews during halftime of the Houston-Utah game. Let's send you out west now for Game 5 between Houston and Utah. Greg Gumbel, Steve Jones, and Hannah Storm.